Alright, the Lakers have made 9 new additions so far, 11 if you count their two-way contracts, and they might not even be done yet. And yes, while we tend to talk about Walker Kessler, by far their biggest and maybe their best addition, hopefully, even guys like Cameron Carr, Quentin Grimes, all the way down to Colin Sexton, one name and one player that does not get mentioned much, in fact, a guy that many casual fans said, who, after they signed him, happened to be Sandro Mamukelashvili.
The Los Angeles Lakers just handed a multi-million-dollar contract to a player a huge chunk of casual NBA fans barely noticed, while social media has been busy clowning the front office and calling every roster move a panic decision. Sandro Mamukelashvili has quietly landed in Los Angeles with a real chance to become one of the biggest surprise pieces on this roster. And that brings up a serious question. Is Mamukelashvili actually going to prove he deserves that new multi-million-dollar contract as the Lakers' potential fifth starter, or did Rob Pelinka put way too much money on an unproven bet? Drop your take in the comments below because this move is way more interesting than the attention it has received.
One of the most important acquisitions that they have made is power forward center Sandro Mamukelashvili, who spent last year in Toronto. It was really his breakout year in the league. It's what earned him the 4-year deal with the Lakers.
The national sports conversation has been locked onto superstar trades, blockbuster rumors, and whatever headline can pull the biggest numbers. Meanwhile, smaller roster moves, the ones that can quietly decide whether a team has real depth in April and May, often get pushed to the side. That is exactly what seems to be happening with Mamu in Los Angeles. A lot of casual fans have treated the Sandro Mamukelashvili addition like background noise. Some people saw the name, kept scrolling, and immediately went back to arguing about bigger stars. But behind all that online chatter, there is a much more interesting basketball story developing. The Lakers reportedly checked a major roster box by securing the 27-year-old big man on a 4-year, $52 million contract. And Mamu certainly hasn't looked unhappy about his new situation. During NBA Summer League action in Las Vegas, he could be seen around the arena taking photos for the team, interacting with Lakers fans, and walking around with a huge smile while embracing the purple and gold atmosphere.
Let's talk Mamu. So what is your top line breakdown of Mamu's game? For someone who has never watched him before or has maybe seen some highlights, what's your breakdown of him on both sides of the ball?
Well, look, offensively, that's the main draw with him. He can dribble, pass, shoot in the best way possible, especially at his size and at his position, his ability to make decisions on the go, obviously space the floor in a legitimate way, but also just kind of like push the tempo. He's pretty good in transition with the ball in his hands. That really helped the Raptors last season. But generally, the Raptors were missing this stretch five type of player. And they got that in Mamu.
That energy is cool, but what matters is what happens when the real games begin under the lights at Crypto.com Arena. And this is where things get spicy, because Mamu's actual basketball toolbox is much deeper than his reputation among casual fans suggests. At roughly 6'9" and 240 pounds, he brings a weird matchup profile. He is big enough to handle minutes around the paint, but skilled enough to pull defenders away from the basket. That gives a coaching staff several ways to use him instead of forcing him into one basic role. During his time with the San Antonio Spurs in the 2023-24 season, he was primarily used as a power forward who could stretch the floor. Last season, however, his role shifted heavily toward the 5 spot. That change showed something important. Mamu isn't stuck playing one position. Depending on the matchup, he can move between front court roles and force opposing defenses to make uncomfortable choices.
So along those lines, the Lakers have an interesting dilemma right now where I think they need a starting wing/4 to round out the starting group. Right now, the projected starters are Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Quentin Grimes, and Walker Kessler. Then that final spot right now seems to be an open competition. Mamu's in that conversation.
Then you get to the numbers, and this is where the conversation gets even crazier. The analyst at B-Ball Index reportedly produced a salary cap valuation that paints Mamu's contract in a completely different light. According to those projections, using his impact and statistical production from last season, his estimated market value sits around a stunning $26.5 million. And the model doesn't stop there. It reportedly projects that figure to rise to approximately $27.7 million by the 2027 to 28 season, before eventually reaching roughly $29.5 million by 2030. Now compare that projection with what Los Angeles is actually paying him. Pelinka secured Mamu at an average annual salary of roughly $13 million. If those valuation projections come anywhere close to reality, that isn't just decent business. It could become one of those contracts people look back at and wonder how the Lakers got that much value for the price. Of course, projections aren't guarantees. Mamu still has to prove that his production can hold up with greater responsibility, tougher matchups, and the pressure that comes with playing meaningful games in Los Angeles. But there is actual production behind the hype rather than nothing but wishful thinking. Last season with the Toronto Raptors, Mamu averaged 11.2 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, despite playing only around 22 minutes per game. That's serious output for a player operating on a limited nightly workload. His efficiency makes those numbers stand out even more. Mamu shot 52.3% from the field while connecting on 39% of his shots from three-point range. And this wasn't somebody taking one random three every couple of games. He was putting up roughly 4 attempts from deep per night despite the restricted minutes. Stretch those numbers to a standard per 36-minute sample and you're looking at more than 6 three-point attempts per game. For a hybrid big man, that kind of perimeter volume can completely change spacing. Defenders can't simply camp in the paint and pretend he doesn't exist. If they leave him open, he has shown he can punish them from outside. If they chase him beyond the arc, driving lanes can suddenly open for the Lakers' creators. That's the kind of low-key tactical wrinkle that doesn't go viral on social media, but can become a serious problem for opposing defenses. And consider where Mamu came from financially. He went from producing highly efficient numbers on a minimum level deal to landing an average annual salary of approximately $13 million.
Would it take for you to, meet the expectations of being a starter after you've progressed so much as a reserve to get to this point?
Yeah, I don't know how it's all gonna play out, but I just think like throughout my 5 years in the league, I'm matured enough. I understand how to play this game. I think it's slowing down year after year, and I'm getting more and more comfortable out there. So, what I gotta do is just be coachable, listen to Coach JJ. Understand my spots, understand how they want to play, which we haven't really gone through yet. We're still kind of in the process, and just play the game, play hard.
That's a massive jump, but it's also why this season matters so much for him. The Lakers aren't paying him like an end-of-the-bench experiment anymore. They're betting that the flashes are real and that a larger role can unlock even more. Now put all of this next to Luka Doncic, and the fit starts getting very interesting. A big man who can move around the floor, knock down threes, operate in different front court spots, and force defenders to respect him outside could become extremely useful next to an elite playmaker like Luka. The defense has to make a choice. Help too aggressively, and Mamu could be standing outside waiting for an open look. Stay attached to him, and Luka gets more room to cook inside. That is where JJ Redick's decisions become crucial. Does he use Mamu primarily as a floor-spacing 5? Does he play him beside another big in certain matchups? Can he survive defensively against stronger centers while creating enough problems on the other end to make that trade worthwhile? Those are the details that will decide whether this contract looks sharp or shaky. And then there is the money. If you simply follow the Lakers' current payroll hierarchy, reportedly sits behind Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Walker Kessler, and Quentin Grimes, making him the 5th highest paid player on the roster. That puts real expectations on a player many casual fans were barely talking about when the deal happened. And suddenly, this quiet addition doesn't look so quiet anymore. If you follow pure financial logic, Sandro Mamukelashvili looks like the obvious choice to slide directly into the starting lineup as the Lakers' 5th starter. And from an offensive standpoint, I can absolutely see the vision. The analytics crowd has plenty to get excited about with a potential 5-man group of Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Quentin Grimes, Mamu, and Walker Kessler. According to predictive metric models, that exact lineup projects to a strong plus 4.4 net rating powered by a ridiculous 124.2 offensive rating. That would place the group's offensive talent grade in the 99.9th percentile across the league. On paper, this offense looks straight up nasty. JJ Redick could have a field day designing actions for these 5. The Lakers could run 5-out spacing, switch into 4-in, 1-out looks, or attack straight out of high horn sets. Between Luka's elite creation, Austin Reeves' playmaking, and the size surrounding them, Mamu could end up getting some of the cleanest 3-point looks of his entire NBA career. And if Walker Kessler continues developing his own ability to provide spacing around the baseline, things get even more interesting. Suddenly, Los Angeles could throw out a Twin Towers look where two different big men create problems away from the basket. Pull an opposing rim protector even a few steps outside his comfort zone, and Luka gets a wider runway to pick the defense apart. But here's where the whole situation gets tricky. The other side of the court tells a completely different story. The offense might look like an A+ on paper, but the defensive projections aren't nearly as pretty. Defensive player impact metrics reportedly give this specific five-man lineup roughly a C+ grade, placing it around the 54th percentile. That's basically middle-of-the-pack territory, and for a team with championship expectations, that could become a serious issue. Once you dig into the individual defensive profiles, the weakness isn't difficult to spot. Outside of Quentin Grimes, this lineup doesn't have many elite perimeter defenders who consistently fight through screens and stay attached to explosive guards. Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic can carry enormous offensive responsibilities, but asking them to chase lightning-quick guards around screens every possession isn't exactly the ideal setup. And that's where putting Mamu into the starting five creates a complicated chess match for JJ Redick. Mamu isn't an elite shot-blocking monster who can erase every mistake at the rim. He also isn't the type of ultra-mobile big who can switch onto superstar guards and comfortably dance with them 25 feet away from the basket. What he does bring, however, is smart help defense. His positioning can be seriously impressive. Mamu has a knack for reading developing plays, sliding into driving lanes at the right moment, and using active hands to disrupt passing angles. He can make an offense hesitate without needing to rack up huge block numbers. But there is a major difference between being a smart team defender and being the guy who holds an entire defense together. Mamu isn't Walker Kessler or Victor Wembanyama as a defensive anchor. He isn't going to magically turn a shaky defensive group into a lockdown machine by himself. Instead, his defensive value depends heavily on the players and assignments around him, and that's where this potential starting lineup runs into a sneaky problem. Mamu and Luka are most comfortable defending a very similar type of offensive player. Think about how that works in an actual game. Mamu is at his best when he can defend a physical, lower usage big or forward who isn't constantly dragging him through high-speed perimeter actions. That allows him to use his strength, positioning, and basketball IQ instead of forcing him into repeated foot races against quicker players. The problem is that Luka often benefits from that same type of defensive assignment. A coaching staff may prefer placing Luka on a lower usage, less threatening shooter so he isn't burning precious energy chasing elite creators around the floor. That's especially important when the Lakers need him controlling nearly everything offensively. Now put Luka, Mamu, and Walker Kessler on the floor together, and somebody has to take the tougher forward assignment. With Kessler protecting the interior and Luka ideally preserved for offense, that responsibility could fall directly onto Mamu. That's where opposing coaches could smell blood. Quick wings could drag him into high pick-and-roll actions, force switches, and make him defend in space over and over again. Even if Mamu survives several possessions, playoff basketball is ruthless. Teams identify one uncomfortable matchup and hammer it until the coaching staff is forced to adjust. And that's the real danger with making him the automatic fifth starter. The offensive numbers could look incredible, but if opponents consistently create favorable perimeter matchups against him, some of that scoring advantage could disappear on the other end. That's precisely why I would rather see Mamu come off the bench as a high-level luxury big, instead of forcing him into a starting lineup where his defensive assignment might expose his weaknesses. Redick could choose his matchups carefully and unleash his shooting, passing, and offensive versatility against second units. If the Lakers shift things around and use Luka Doncic at the 4 alongside Quentin Grimes and another quick perimeter defender, the entire defensive picture starts looking cleaner. Suddenly, Los Angeles has more speed at the point of attack, while Sandro Mamukelashvili can move into a high-usage backup 5 role. That could also reduce the need to lean heavily on someone like Kevon Looney, allowing him to operate as a deeper reserve center when specific matchups call for him. And honestly, Mamu leading the second unit could be where things get seriously dangerous. Against backup centers, his combination of interior touch and perimeter shooting could create matchup headaches all night. Just look at his finishing numbers from last season. He reportedly earned a B+ grade in overall finishing talent while receiving an A- in rim shot-making efficiency. That's important because Mamu isn't some one-dimensional big man standing in the corner and praying somebody eventually throws him the ball. He has enough handle and awareness to attack hard closeouts off the dribble, and his crafty left-handed push shot and floater give him another weapon once he gets into the paint. Defenders also have to respect that three-point shot. Opposing big men can't simply camp around the basket and completely ignore him the way teams sometimes treat limited shooting forwards such as Jared Vanderbilt. Give Mamu too much room outside, and he's already shown he can knock down that shot. But rush at him too aggressively, and now there's another problem. Mamu can put the ball on the floor, attack the opening, and use his touch around the basket to finish the play. That simple inside-outside threat is exactly what could make him a nightmare against slower second-unit centers. Whether JJ Redick eventually puts him in the opening starting five or turns him into one of the main weapons off the bench, Sandro Mamukelashvili has a real opportunity to make this multi-million-dollar contract look much better than some critics expect. People online can keep calling the Lakers' moves desperate or labeling this contract an overpay, but those takes still have to survive what happens on the court. The analytics suggest there is legitimate upside here, but now Mamu has to prove those projections translate into winning basketball under much brighter lights in Los Angeles. And when you're building around a creator like Luka Doncic, surrounding him with efficient, smart big men who can stretch the floor makes a ton of sense. If Mamu's shooting holds up, his finishing remains efficient, and Redick finds the right defensive combinations around him, this could become one of those low-key moves that looks completely different a few months into the season. So what do you think? Should Mamu be the Lakers' fifth starter, or would he be more dangerous cooking second units off the bench? Drop your take in the comments. And if you enjoyed this Lakers breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another Lakers fan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.